Now, from the Signature Bank Studios.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. So President-elect Trump roiling the Beltway establishment with his nomination of Florida Congressman Matt Gaetz to be Attorney General. That in particular, boy, the controversy over the Hegseth nomination died down very quickly yesterday. Everybody needed to turn their attention to Gaetz, and they certainly did. Lisa Murkowski, one of the Republican senators you would expect to be pretty squishy on Gaetz, said this.
I don't think it's a serious nomination for the Attorney General. We need to have a serious Attorney General, and I'm looking forward to the opportunity to consider somebody that is serious. This one was not on my bingo card.
I'm so sad. Everybody says that now, by the way. That was not on my bingo card.
That doesn't sound like a yes vote to
No.
me. John Bolton, you have to hear from Never Trump World, former U.S. ambassador to the UN under Trump term 1. John Bolton, of course, platformed by NBC News and Kristen Welker to say what you would expect somebody from Never Trump World to say. Bolton was a lawyer. Is a lawyer, Yale.
What was your immediate reaction when you heard that?
Well, it must be the worst nomination for a cabinet position in American history. I think this is something that falls well outside the scope of deference that should be given to a president in nominating members of his senior team. Gaetz is not only totally incompetent for this job, he doesn't have the character. He is a person of moral turpitude. And notwithstanding how difficult it may be politically, this is a nomination the Republican Party should oppose.
Mm-hmm. Mark Wayne Mullen, Republican senator from Oklahoma, weighed in on this as well. He's had clashes with Gaetz in the past, but
not ideal. The ideal way is for us to move forward. But if that's the last resort, we will absolutely do it. If Chuck Schumer and the Democrats in the Senate want to keep us from making any of these appointments, we are going to do our best to do whatever we have to do to get the cabinet in a position and get the appointments in a position so President Trump can go to work on day one. So we will do whatever it takes, but that's the last resort.
Are you going to vote for Matt Gaetz?
You know, Matt Gaetz and I, there's no question that we've had our differences. They've been very public about it. I completely trust President Trump's decision-making on this one. But at the same time, he's got to come to Congress and sell himself. There's a lot of, or to the Senate and sell himself. There's a lot of questions that are going to be out there. He's got to answer those questions. And hopefully he's able to answer the questions right. And if he can, then we'll go through the confirmation process.
Well, I think those people that are saying the Gaetz nomination is DOA are a lot of the same people that said Trump could never win a second term. I don't think it's DOA. I think you're hearing some expressions of concern or even opposition from mainly the usual suspects, most of whom will fall in line.
But do you think they will?
And the other thing that Mark Wayne Mullen pointed to, which is part of the conversation, is the prospect of recess appointments, even for AG.
Oh, that's true. And here's Susan Collins, because she's, with her girl pal, Murkowski.
I was shocked that he has been nominated. If the nomination proceeds, I'm sure that there will be an extensive background check by the FBI and public hearings and a lot of questions asked.
Hasn't he already been vetted? The Department of Justice did not pursue any charges with those allegations that were brought against
him. That's not a full vetting for the purposes of being nominated to a cabinet post. But regardless, Susan Collins hedging there, and she's wise to hedge because Susan Collins is up for re-election in 2026. And you already have Elon Musk saying that he will fund primary opponents against essentially anti-MAGA Republican incumbents, anybody that stands in the way of Trump's agenda. He's happy to provide some financing for primary opposition. So that complicates things a bit, too, because remember, almost to a person, the main thought in the mind of the politician is, how do I get reelected? For more on all this, we're pleased to be joined again by Professor William Jacobson, clinical professor of law and director of the Securities Law Clinic at Cornell, founder of LegalInsurrection.com and president of the Legal Insurrection Foundation, as well as the Equal Protection Project. Professor Jacobson, thanks for joining us again. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me on.
Your reaction to the Gaetz nomination?
Surprise. I don't think, I don't have a bingo card for this, but he wasn't somebody who was on the top of my mind as a possible nominee.
Yeah.
And so it's surprising. And I think it is, in many ways, a big middle finger by Trump towards the Department of Justice based on what they've done to him.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, a lot of people are complaining, this, questions the institution itself. Well, this is the same institution that in the infancy of the first Trump presidency tried to destroy him. Remember, James Comey, director of the FBI, part of the Department of Justice. In many ways, the director of the FBI is as high profile as the Attorney General, set Trump up at a meeting at the White House a day or two into the first term, knowing that Trump wouldn't have lawyers around him, and used that as an excuse to get CNN to leak the phony Steele dossier. So, is Trump supposed to respect an institution that in his first term tried to set him up? So I think this is a big middle finger. I think this is him saying, it's going to be my Department of Justice. I'm not going to let it destroy me again.
No question. I think that's part of it, and to some extent. Well, if the rumors are true, I think Kash Patel, as the director of the FBI, would be the same message. And to some extent, I can't blame him, because it is not inconsistent with what he said on the campaign trail for years, which is they're coming at me, but they're really coming for you, and I'm just standing in the way. And we also saw that with the FBI and the Department of Justice, that the Trump treatment was not reserved for Trump. It was reserved for it included people that have particular political views, like that pro-life gentleman out of rural Pennsylvania whose home got raided SEAL Team 6 style, the Catholics that attend Latin Mass, and the memo out of the Richmond office. It did include ordinary Americans that were subjected to similar treatment.
Yeah, this is an institution that is severely damaged by its own conduct. They went after or at least issued memos calling parents who, disrupted school board meetings or who wanted to be heard at school board meetings as potential domestic terrorists. They've gone off after all manner of, right-sided political opponents. Remember, a senior prosecutor in the Justice Department miraculously transferred to the Manhattan District Attorney's Office to help the prosecution of Trump by Alvin Bragg. So this is an entirely politicized, weaponized Justice Department. And I think Gaetz, who again was, not really somebody anybody expected, is Trump's way of saying, I'm not going to let you do this to me again.
Well, if approved, do you think Matt Gaetz would go after Letitia James or Alvin Bragg?
I think he's probably more likely to. I think they deserve investigation. Whether they deserve prosecutions, something I can't conclude yet. But certainly they deserve investigation. That, when you have two political candidates who announce that if elected to their prosecutor spots, they will use those offices to go after a political opponent. That's pretty bad. Whether it's criminal or not, I don't know. But it's pretty bad. And so, I think that Gaetz is probably somebody who would be willing to push the department in that direction. But there may have been other people, and you've raised the issue of whether he can be confirmed, what's going to happen, et cetera. That's all to be determined. But I'm not as hair on fire as a lot of people are. Again, I would have preferred, I think, that you had somebody who, with the same agenda, but perhaps better, gravitas, if you will, who could work the bureaucracy, because this is a massive bureaucracy. Who could maybe get the job done better than Gaetz will. Gaetz will do great press conferences, but is he going to be able to get the job done remains to be seen.
Well, the other thing I'm thinking about, too, particularly, again, going to Kash Patel as possibly the next FBI director. So Patel, in addition to being a former COS for at DOD, he was a federal public defender as well as a federal prosecutor, particularly on national security cases. So, I'm thinking about this very much like we had the conversation yesterday on our program about Pete Hegseth, which is, there's the face guy who has sort of general working knowledge of the institution and sort of is aligned with the Trump vision to change the culture in these agencies that have been corrupted from the inside out. And then you put teams around them that are perhaps the more experienced implementation people.
And I think that's what you may see here. I mean, you could see Gaetz, assuming he can get confirmed, or I don't know the intricacies of recess appointments, but assuming he gets the spot, it's really going to be the deputies who are going to run the department. And that, it could be true here. So Gaetz is not going to get his hands dirty with all the paperwork, but the people who are just below him will. So that remains to be seen for sure.
What do you make of the fact that he resigned from Congress yesterday, considering that the House Ethics Committee was investigating him and they were going to, release this investigation, but now they're not going to?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of strange things about this, and that's probably not good at relating to his chances of getting confirmed. What is in that report? It may not be criminal. I mean, the FBI investigated him for a year or two and ended up not bringing any charges, but it will leak. That House report will leak, or a draft of it will leak for sure. That's almost guaranteed. And so is that going to muddy things up? But there are all sorts of theories floating around the Internet. I'm sure you've seen them, that this was some sort of deal worked out so he would not create a floor fight over who was going to be House Speaker, and they're going to let him resign so the House investigation gets quashed, and then he won't get he won't get confirmed. Essentially, it's something of weird configuration, Rube Goldberg sort of get-out-of-jail-free card for him. I don't know if any of that's true. I think probably more likely is Trump likes him and felt that he would be the person Trump wanted there.
Yeah, I think that's more likely is that Trump is looking for blunt instruments in particular places, and he's and that's the direction that he's moving. And it doesn't mean that you can't be talented and knowledgeable too. And that brings me to something else I wanted to get your views on, and that's DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency, under the helm of Elon and Vivek. Vivek makes the point in a tweet about the recent case law that provides them what he believes is a lot of room to maneuver when it comes to reducing the size and scope and expense of the federal government. And, of course, he points to the Loper-Bright case, which ended the Chevron deference doctrine, but also SEC versus Jarkizi in 2024, restricting the use of administrative law judges by agencies. The Corner Post v. Board of Governors, the court held new businesses can challenge old regulations, greatly expanding the statute of limitations, opening up many more rules for scrutiny. I mean, the recent this has gotten some attention, particularly the end of the Chevron deference doctrine, but the recent case law in the last couple of terms really does provide a lot more tools for reining in the runaway administrative state, doesn't it?
Well, to the extent there are policies, to the extent there are rules and regulations as opposed to laws, it may enable the new head of that department or the chief executive, meaning the president, to disavow those. And when people challenge them in court, which they undoubtedly will, to invoke the recent case law, which says that, it was improper, arguably, at its start, these different, agency-initiated policies and regulations. But I don't think people should expect that they can come in and announce, these 300 rules and regulations and policies no longer affect, because to the extent they've been implemented by regulation, there's the Administrative Procedures Act. They're going to have to go about it the right way. And the Trump administration first term, if I'm remembering correctly, and I think I am, I just can't remember the specifics, lost a number of cases where they tried to undo Obama policies and rules. and the court said, well, you didn't follow the right procedure to do that. So I don't think it's going to be as easy as just, creating a piece of paper with, 500 rules on it and shredding it. But it will open up the opportunity to challenge a lot of things that have been done in prior administrations.
He is Professor William Jacobson, clinical professor of law and the director of the Securities Law Clinic at Cornell, founder of LegalInsurrection.com, and president of the Legal Insurrection Foundation, as well as the Equal Protection Project. Professor Jacobson, thanks so much, as always. Appreciate it.
Take care.
Thank you, and he joined us on our Turnkey.pro answer line.
Connect with Dan and Amy on the AM 560 The Answer mobile app. Just text the word app to 64636 to download the app today.
So right now may be the perfect time for you to rethink how you pay for health care. And here's why. This time of year is decision time for a lot of people, but it's also when you can join MediShare and save even more than usual. For many families, joining MediShare means saving about $500 a month, which is a game changer for a lot of people, obviously. But what's more, MediShare members like it a lot. Their satisfaction rate is 98%. Imagine that. And MediShare is a proven thing, too, for over 30 years. It's a Christian community of hundreds of thousands of people now. And here's the thing. If you join before November 15th and you mention the promo code SHARE, they'll waive your application fee, so you save even more right off the bat. I'll give you the number here in a second, but just call and you'll get a price within 2 minutes. And again, the deadline is November 15th. So call now. You'll save even more. Here's the number, 844-47-BIBLE. That's 844-47-BIBLE, 844-47-BIBLE.
Hey, Chris. How was your week?
Oh, sorry, Jen. I can't talk right now. The network is down again, and I can't access any of my files. What's worse, I'm late for a virtual call and past deadline on a project.
Let me help. I'll reboot the cable modem, wait 10 minutes, then reboot the router. Let's see if that works.
Sounds easy enough, but I shouldn't have to play resident IT director every time our equipment goes down. I shouldn't be messing with this IT work.
I agree.